So let's breathe together, shall we? Taking a deep breath. And another breath. And one more breath. Something very sweet about doing that together. I thank you all for indulging me as it kind of prepares me for delivering my message. So last week, if you were here, I did a talk called Watching Paint Dry. And it was about the importance of patience in all aspects of life, especially if you are attempting to live a spiritual life. Because what happens is so many of us, we learn about the power of our minds to create, and then we try to push the river with the power of that mind without regard to the natural process that things need to go through sometimes in order to manifest. So I used the analogy last week, a really sweet story about a man who tried to help a butterfly get out of its cocoon, not realizing that the struggle and the effort that the butterfly needed to get out in the process of shedding the cocoon naturally was what the butterfly needed to give life to itself. So the butterfly did not survive. And I also use the analogy of my paint night experience. I've had one since then, too. I'm getting better. But anyway, a recent paint night experience when I neglected to let the paint dry on my painting and ended up with a Pepto-Bismol pink on my Santa hat trim because I didn't let the red paint dry when I tried to add the white paint. So it was kind of an experience. And the reason why I talked about that last week was to remind us that there really is this divine intelligence. There's a natural order to things. And that when we remember to work with the universe, when we remember to work in partnership with it, when we remember to rely on that divine intelligence, our life experience really does unfold more easily and more gracefully. And the reason for that is, when we are looking at something straight on, just from our perspective, we're not privy to the bigger picture. And folks, there is always a bigger picture. When we're seeing it just from our perspective, from our limited viewpoint, we can't see everything that's going on. We don't know all of the things that have to come together in order for things to happen naturally. Is that making sense to you? Yeah, it's making sense to me too. And because we can't see the bigger picture, we think that we have to make things happen, as opposed to setting an intention with our powerful minds and then allowing the thing to happen naturally. In a little bit, I'm going to share a true story with you about some real estate deals that we are going through here at the center. It's an amazing story about setting intention and allowing the process to unfold. But before I tell you the story, I wanted to share a video with you that's been going around the internet for a while, and as soon as I saw it, I saved it. You know, you can save things on Facebook, and I saved it because I knew that I wanted to use this video today about having a bigger picture and about trusting the process. So here's the video. It's got a little commercial at the end, and I apologize for that. I didn't know how to cut it out, but I'm going to share the video with you anyway. Now, I love this video for many, many different reasons, because even as cool as it is, when you're looking at it just straight on, just like what we were just talking about, when you're looking at it straight on, you can't see the complexity of the design. You can't see all those little levers and all those little pulleys that have to work and have to work perfectly for the next sequence to occur. Get it? I know! That's exactly how it is when we're working with the universe. We see the outcome, so a cool domino thing, right? But we don't see everything that has gone into making the design of our lives work. The things that are behind the scenes. We don't see that. So it's our job as co-creators with the universe to hold the vision, to do the next indicated thing, the thing that's in front of us to do, to know that there's stuff that's going on behind the scenes that needs to happen, and to trust the process. Trust the process, because often part of that process, this was a huge aha to me, folks. Part of the process, part of the delay, what we feel is delay, is for us to become who we need to be in order to attract the thing that we say we want. Part of the process is for us to grow into it. So we have this vision, we have this idea of what we desire, but maybe we're the ones that need to grow. We're the ones that need to expand in order to bring that thing into our sphere of influence. I found this great quote by Mandy Hale. Don't ask me who Mandy Hale is, but I love her quotes. She says, what we are waiting for is not as important as what happens while we are waiting. Trust the process. So now I'm going to tell you this story. Many of you have been part of this story longer than I have. So I'm just going to tell it to you from my perspective. And if I have forgotten something, or if I don't have all the details exactly correctly, I know that you will forgive me. So about 5 years ago, the decision was made to sell the beloved Center for Spiritual Living building that was on 17th Avenue. People loved that building. It was beautiful, it was fabulous. I never stepped foot in it, so I don't have that attachment to it, but I know a lot of people do. And there were lots of reasons to sell the building, including some very high-cost maintenance that needed to happen, plus receiving a very generous offer to purchase the land, because it was the land that they wanted down on 17th Avenue. And so then the plan was to purchase another building for office and classrooms, and to meet, at least temporarily, here at SAIT in the Orpheus Theater. Have I got that pretty good so far, folks? Okay, yeah. The prevailing belief at that time was that we didn't need a large assembly space except on Sundays, so why have it all the time? So when I came here 3.5 years ago, that was the configuration. We had this beautiful building on 1st Street Northwest that was office, classrooms, social gatherings, that type of thing. And then we met here in this theater on Sundays. What I didn't know at the time was that many people really missed being all together in a full-on spiritual home, including a space for Sundays. I thought everyone had agreed to, had totally bought into this current configuration. That's what I was told when I came here. But then I got to talking to people early on, and I realized that there was a deep desire of many people for everything to come back under one roof. So what you may not know is that several years ago, we started talking to a realtor about finding an all-in-one space for us. Didn't just happen. We've been talking to this guy for years. Now, we didn't move forward on anything quite yet, but I want to tell you that a seed got planted. It was an unformed seed at the time. It needed more maturation, but a seed had been planted. Then about a year ago, the leadership of the center, our ministers, our practitioners, our board, our key volunteers, They all came together, and we designed our beautiful vision and mission statements, which included those words that I asked you to pay attention to today, a beacon of spiritual illumination. And when we came up with that vision and that mission statement, what we had, instead of this, oh no, we had a clear idea of what we were looking for. We had a mental equivalent. And that seed started to take root. Here's what Ernest Holmes puts it. He says, the law is infinite and perfect. But in order to make a demonstration, we must have a mental equivalent of the thing we desire. A demonstration is born out of a mental concept. So what happened after this visioning meeting? We started talking about what was possible. We started talking about selling our current building. So then we would have the resources to move when the right perfect place came up. Are you following me so far? So sell our building, so then we have the money in the bank, so then if something comes up, we can buy it. And we also talked about the possibility of maybe, wouldn't it be cool if we could lease some of the space back in our current building so we wouldn't have to move more than once. So here's this idea. It's just out there, we're talking about it. And lo and behold, this past summer, we received an unsolicited offer to buy our building at a good price. It wasn't even on the market. But our realtor was talking to a colleague of his. And the colleague said, you know what, I might have the perfect buyer for you. And sure enough, it's a chiropractor who has a chiropractic clinic, and she came and she fell in love with the building. Who wouldn't? It's a beautiful building. And part of her plan was to have us lease some of the space back from her until we were ready to move. I'm telling you folks, you cannot make this stuff up. We had set our intention. We had developed our mental equivalent to sell the building, be able to lease the space back, and within a few short months, that is exactly what happened. So let me tell you what the key was. This has been a real lesson learning. It's been an education. We were not attached to the outcome when we set that intention. We were like, gee, that would be cool. Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, I think that'd be cool. But because it was an idea whose time had come, that had started years ago, that seed had taken root, and it was beginning to grow. This quote by Sharon Salzberg: we like things to manifest right away, and they may not. Many times, we're just planting a seed and we don't know exactly how it is going to come to fruition. It's hard for us to realize that what we see in front of us might not be the end of the story. I'm going to let that one sink in for a second. We don't realize that what we see in front of us might not be the end of the story. So as cool as this story is so far, that's not the end of the story. I have more. So during the time that we were doing our negotiating on the building, because there was a little bit of negotiation that had to go back and forth, we had to come to you, our membership, and get your buy-in to sell our building and everything else. So one day, Graham Clark, Graham, would you stand up for a second and let people know who you are? He's our board president. You have no idea how hard this man is working right now. So he's driving around in a light industrial area off of Blackfoot. Now, the reason why he was looking at light industrial was a little bit at my urging, because although spiritual centers in industrial space is not very common here in Calgary, yet it is incredibly common in the States. Incredibly common. In fact, my former center in Temecula is a converted warehouse. The Agape Center in Los Angeles is a converted warehouse. So it is very, very common. And when you come to the meeting later on, I'm going to actually show you some pictures of some converted warehouse space so you can see what I'm talking about. And we had also seen one here in Calgary in the southeast off of Glenmore that was already a complete facility, but it was out of our price range. And price was an issue, or it was a concern. It was a factor. Thank you. It was a consideration. So here's Graham, and he's driving around. Actually, he was driving around because Sylvia had told him to go look at one space, and that one didn't pan out. So he's just driving around, right? And he sees a building for sale that looked interesting. It was a standalone building, lots of parking, extra land, warehouse space that would be converted into a lovely sanctuary with big high ceilings, because I like that. Offices, space for kids, room to grow, and here's the most important part, the right price. So we toured this location a few times, and the more we saw it, the more we liked it. And then, I got off, okay, so now, okay. Now originally, this is important for me to tell you, originally, the owner of the building had some strange conditions on it, including a 5-year lease with an option to buy after the 5 years. And he was adamant about this. He wanted somebody to lease for 5 years, and then they could buy the building. But that's not what we wanted, right? We wanted to purchase it outright. And we held firm to that, because we knew what was going to be best for the center. Well, one day, the owner came when we were touring the building, because he wanted to meet these people who were so interested in his building and turning it into a spiritual center. He liked us so much that he waived the lease back condition and agreed to sell it to us outright. Swear to God. You cannot make this stuff up. You cannot outcool God. Right? Now, this man had been adamant that he wanted somebody to lease for the 5 years and then purchase the building. In fact, he had turned down offers before us to just buy the building. And yet, having met us, he changed his mind. He caught the vision. He saw the bigger picture. Now I want you to think about the timing of this for a second. From the moment that we designed our vision and mission statement through to today's special meeting where the plan is that we will approve to purchase this building, it has been exactly 1 year. We had our meeting on December 5th, our vision missions meeting on December 5th, and this is December 11th. We went from this nebulous, someday we'd like to be under one roof again. We developed this concrete mental equivalent of being a beacon of spiritual illumination that makes accessible a way of living and teaching to manifestation. And we did it by trusting the process and not trying to push the river. We did it by recognizing that before any of this could come into fruition, a lot of things had to come together, including our own mental idea of what was possible. That making sense? There's a whole lot of stuff that was going on behind the scenes. Here's another quote by that amazing Mandy Hale, who I never heard of before. She said, if you're still waiting for it, it means you're not ready for it, whatever it is. So stop looking at waiting as a punishment and start looking at it as preparation. This is true. Whether you're trying to build a spiritual center or whether you're trying to manifest something in your own personal life. You can look at that wait time, oh dear God, frustrating as it is, where's George Clooney? We can look at that. We can look at that as preparation time. We can use it to do the work, to become the person who attracts the thing. Our founder, Ernest Holmes, we cannot experience more than we can accept, but we can expect more than we have been experiencing. If we are willing to start from where we are today, creating a little bigger, broader, and better mental equivalent than we had yesterday, we shall progressively advance. Now, I know that there were some of you who were very frustrated and very impatient for this to happen. I know that. But the truth is, we had to get a lot of infrastructure in place in order for this to happen. There were a lot of dominoes that had to be placed before the design was ready to be revealed. And we still have a lot of work to go to turn this place into our spiritual home. But because this is a divine idea whose time is come, it means that each one of you is part of this bigger picture to bring it into fruition. We're going to need your help. We're going to need your resources. We're going to need your prayers. We're going to need your positive thoughts. So I'm asking you to please stay for the meeting. When we're done, we'll take a quick break, get set up, and then we'll come back in here. Come to the meeting and hear some of the details. Hear some of the work that has gone into this. Hear about this building. See pictures of it. Hear about it. And understand why we're so excited about it. Please, if you can. And in the meantime, because I know that you are part of the bigger picture, you're the reason we're doing this. You are the reason we are doing this. So please know you are loved and appreciated. And so it is.